Hi, this is Alexandra with Beadaholique, here to show you how to weave a chevron friendship bracelet. So here I've done a project using this weave, and we have a separate video on how to finish off a piece like this using pinch cord ends. So for this project, I'll be using S-Lon cord, my handy third hand tool, a little weight down for this with my bench block, just some scissors, tape, and glue. Traditionally, friendship bracelets are made often using embroidery thread, just clipped onto a safety pin on your pants. So I got a little creative here, figuring out how to attach my work to the table for demonstration purposes. We'll also be attaching it with a button clasp. Here I've got my 4 lengths of S-Lon cord measured out to 7 feet each. I gave myself quite a few extra inches for the beginning and ending of the bracelet. What we're going to start with is a large enough loop to give ourselves some leeway, and we're going to braid the top to create our clasp loop. Like so. And then I'll go ahead and clip that onto my third hand. Also going to reinforce it with some painter's tape. There we go. Ready to begin. This is a modified braid. I'm going to have 2 threads on one section and 3 on each of the others. But once it's woven together, it'll still look nice. Give it a nice finished ending. So I'm just doing a simple braid, probably about 2 inches worth, and I'll check it against my button. Scoot in anyway. Check and make sure that I get the right size loop for my button. I like the S-Lon cord for this because it really doesn't tangle as I'm weaving. You also get a lot on the spool. We have a lot of different colors on the website, and also some really nice color combinations that come in packs. Give good design ideas. My braid's flipping a little bit, but I think the weave will end up straight once I make the loop. Braid just a little extra for my knot. Check the size of the loop here. And that's plenty. Some of the braid is going to get eaten up in the final knot that I make, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. What I'll first need to do is take that initial knot out. There we go. So I'm going to bring the 2 ends together. Check my sizing one more time. Pinch it up just a little bit. Now I know what size I want my loop, and create my final overhand knot. And I'll work that up right to the point that I measured at. And get as even a knot as I can here. I'll be clipping and gluing that for security. That works. Now I'm ready to make my cut here. I'm going to get the extra thread off, just with scissors. Make sure I leave just enough that it's not going to pull out of itself before I have a chance to give it some glue. And use my Hypo cement glue, which has a nice applicator. You can even kind of inject it into that knot a little bit. So while this is drying, I can go ahead and refasten my loop to my third hand and begin my weave. So the first thing I want to do is decide on the order of my colors. And I want red, olive, turquoise, navy. And then what I'll do on the opposite side is the inverse of that, with red, olive, turquoise, and navy. So beginning on the left, what I'm going to do is take my outermost thread and make the shape of a 4 so that the red is on the top of the other thread. I come through and pull it up like so. So I'm pulling straight down on my olive thread and do that twice. Pull tight, and then I'm going to move on to my next thread, onto turquoise. Do the same thing. I make the shape of a 4, come around the bottom, up through, and pull tight twice. And again on the navy thread. Once you get the hang of it, you don't have to make the shape of a 4 so much, but it's definitely the helpful way that I learned to get the placement of the thread correct for the weave. So then I bring my red to the center, and I do the same thing in the opposite on the other side. So I'm going to bring the red over the top of the olive in the shape of a backward 4 and pull it through and up to the top. Get my other thread out of the way. Another time, backward 4, down, up, and through, and move to the turquoise, backward 4, up and through. The first few layers are the trickiest bands to make because of the flexibility of the thread, but once you get the weave going, it holds itself together. Moving inward with my backward 4s, holding down on my other thread, and when I get to the center, I do the same thing with red on red, where it's the opposite 4, up through and pull tight, opposite 4, up through and pull tight, and then this top thread is going to come over to that side. So I'm kind of doing a switcheroo. Now I'm going to come again to the left and begin my next band of color with olive in the same way. 2 knots of each thread, up tight, moving inward, like so. And it starts to pull itself together around this point where you can see the progress. All right, so that's my center thread now. I'm going to move to the opposite side and do the inverse. Make my opposite 4, olive over turquoise. Whoop, pull it through and up. Opposite 4, under, through, and up. Moving inward, make sure I keep my order. to the red. And here I am at my other beige. In the center, I'm going to do that opposite 4 with the beige I was just working with. Greenish beige. That's the first one. And the second knot. And the one I was working with does a switcheroo. It comes over to the left. Now onto turquoise. Over, under, through, and up. Over, under, through, and up. Working inward. Speed it up a little bit just so you can see the progress here. That one stays in the middle, and I move to the right. Over, under, through, and up. Over, under, through, and up. Check my order there and move inward. Oops. The trick for me was learning how to do the reverse order, because I had learned the straight band friendship bracelet, which we also have a video for, and that's very much the same process, but you don't go in the reverse. So I had to train my brain to go in the reverse. At the middle, do my 2 4s, and then switch. So the last band of navy is going to complete the pattern here. Quickly do this to give you a sense of the color order. And there's the middle, go to the other side. Once I complete this band, I'm going to continue in the same way for the whole length of the bracelet. Pretty meditative. I really enjoy weaving. All right, so I'm at my center point. I'm going to switch my threads, keep going, and I'll meet up with you at the end to attach the button. Okay, so here I am finishing up my last band of color, and you can see that the weave has really eaten up a lot of the thread. So I thought I was being generous with 7 feet, but in fact I could have done with 8. So you'll want to just err on the side of caution and make sure you have plenty of cord to work with. But this should give us just enough to finish it up and then attach with one more knot on the button side. It's a little trickier working with less thread because of the way that the cords bounce up. I think they're excited to be done too. I'm doing my opposite 4s, pulling up, coming to the middle. Oops. Over top. I'm giving a good amount of pull up there to get a nice tight knot. So my colors are done, And now here you'll see that I've brought in a couple of 7mm jump rings to attach to my button. And that's going to accommodate my cords coming through. So I want to make sure I just get a nice flush closure on those, doubling them up for strength. And to get my cords in there, I'm going to go ahead and take all of them together and wind them tightly and bend them over. That should allow me to slip them through like so. All right, and then I want to make sure that my button is on the top side of my weave. So coming from underneath, I'm going to do a simple overhand knot. I kind of like to use my pliers to help me pull the threads all through at once. Once I've got them in, I want to pull that knot just to the edge of my weaving. Nice and tight. I'm going to do that one more time. Overhand. Pull them through with my pliers. And I'm going to nestle that knot tight and secure against itself. Get a good comfortable fit there before I glue and clip. Looks pretty good. I'm going to bring in my hypo tube again, GS Hypo Cement. Kind of inject it even into that knot along the edges and the tip. So it's like threading a needle, getting that back on there. Okay, so now I'm ready to clip, and that will glue dry for a few minutes too. All right, so let's see how this fits, how it measures as well. So I have about a 7.5-inch bracelet, which for me might fit just slightly snug. So I'm gonna give it a little bit of a stretch. It's nice and strong. Now let's get the clasp on and see what we've got. There we go. So there's a Chevron friendship bracelet with a button clasp. This project and many more tutorials and supplies are available at Beadaholique.com. Thanks for watching.